Good morning, everyone. This is Ohio Dan again. In this video, I wanted to discuss, I guess, not the main issue of what went down in Charlottesville. I think that I can leave that up to other people, people who are more into the news itself, because, basically to me, all that happened for the most part is that you had a bunch of communists and a bunch of fascists actually fight each other, and the media, along with the local government, and Charlottesville basically is trying to spin it to be an issue where, you have these racists going against a bunch of innocent people. And of course, that's not really what happened. I mean, these people on the right, a lot of them are racist that are at that kind of rally, that kind of event. But, at the same time, you basically have Antifa supporters there in some form. And it's just a matter of, the white supremacists versus the commies. And personally, I think we'd be better if we could just let them fight each other and wipe each other out. But that's not going to happen because this kind of event is really permitted or facilitated by the left, as far as I'm concerned, because they want to be able to portray Trump and everyone who is considered alt-right is just bad. And that's why they wouldn't accept Trump's speech. I mean, he flat out said there are evil parties on both sides and the violence needs to stop, and that's not good enough. You have to have a biased view and say that, it's only the white supremacists who are bad. It's not the commies on the other side. It's not the government that wouldn't even allow the protests to happen and was forced by a court order just for it to get to that point. And of course the police didn't do anything and let the violence happen. That's convenient. So I mean, there are just too many things like that show that the media story is pretty much nonsense, and that this is just another attempt. And you can see how they reacted to Trump himself. It's like, you can't say that there are bad people on both sides, no matter how accurate and simple of a statement that is. You have to say that, it's only conservatives that are bad. The commies, they're fine. They're just standing up for everybody's rights. So, my take on this is, as a whole story, is kind of jaded, I think. This is just a typical modern media kind of fabricated piece of shit that, basically only exists the way it does to try to further the agenda of, bringing down Trump and bringing down the alt-right. And I mean alt-right in a broad sense here, without trying to define it. People on the right who have rebelled against or gone against the traditional conservative platform and are looking to reform the right into a new image. The media, these government entities want to put a stop to that, and I think they orchestrated a lot of this. So I guess that is my kind of simple view. And I'm not trying to cite sources per se. This is my take on the Charlottesville event itself, and there's really not a whole lot more to it than that. You can expect these kinds of things to continue as long as most people are asleep. As long as the information that people are fed is that conservatives and Trump specifically, and everybody on the right is basically a racist. That will continue so long as the current situation, the current circumstances with Trump being in office and the left-wing media and other government entities wanting to take him down. As long as that continues to be the case, I don't think we're going to see too much of a change. But I did want to talk a little bit about race itself and how race is a distraction to actual social issues, and ultimately it's a distraction that gives the left an easy route to victory. It really is. It's a discussion where once you define everything in terms of race and say that, you have these people who are racist, who are concerned about the continuation of a civilization that's been built by white people, that's been built by Europeans, Caucasians. as soon as you have a discussion that goes to race about, well, we want more white people and we want fewer people of other color, basically. I mean, that's what it boils down to once you are trying to discuss things based on race. The left is going to win that battle. Um, so, whether you're calling people racist without any evidence, or you're creating a policy to give people of a certain race a victim status, and basically using cultural Marxism to get what you want politically. Or if you're just flat out racist and you really do see people that, have a different skin color than yours as being the enemy, or, you actually do just want more white people because you think white people should dominate any modern civilization. Um, no matter which side you're on, there are real underlying issues to what people on both political extremes like to classify as racial issues. And again, I think that once these issues are classified as racial, once you do have, for example, a situation like in Charlottesville where there are really a lot of motivations at play. Antifa and the protesters on the left, they want to take down these different Confederate monuments. And I have kind of a different view on that, but it's not really relevant here. You have people who basically want to sort of rewrite history in some cases, or at the very least focus on different elements in history. They want to forget about certain events or certain things that happened in our past during the Civil War and during the time of slavery, during the Civil Rights Movement, and they want to basically take down certain illustrations, certain monuments toward particular historical events. And in some cases, they want to take down Confederate heroes, monuments to like Jefferson Davis, whatever. They're basically they want people on the left, Antifa, and all these people who support getting rid of these commemorations and whatnot, these different monuments. They're just, in very simple terms, trying to support their liberal ideology. They're trying to remake the world in their image. While people on the other side of the coin, like in Charlottesville, yeah, they are racist. But again, it's not just a matter of racist versus anti-racist people, or people who aren't racist on the other side. People have their own motivations and their own particular reasons for supporting a policy, and a lot of the time that's not based on race. And like, one of the ideas that I want to convey is that most people are not racist in our society today. So if the left does manage to make it a discussion about racism versus seeing people of a different race as equal to you, the racists are not going to win that argument. But people should really be asking other questions instead of trying to ask, who is racist. We need to ask, for example, why is it that Caucasian people might become a minority in the United States at some point in the near future? Why is it that Muslims are being shipped into Europe from the Middle East? What is the motivation, particularly from liberals, to essentially decriminalize illegal immigration from Mexico into the United States? Why is it that these issues have, as it pertains to certain ideologies, certain points of view that are favored? Why is it that the left wants more illegal immigration? Why is it that in Europe, the left there, the socialists there basically, just want to have all these refugees come in, or people that are labeling themselves as refugees but are really just Muslims from wherever? Why are these things going on? And, like I say, unless you're focusing on these issues as they are, looking at illegal immigration, looking at why there's a demographic decline among white people in the United States, or just really all over the Western world, not just in the United States. Unless you're asking yourself these tough questions and looking at the underlying causes of these issues, you're not you're not preparing yourself for an intelligent discussion. You're not preparing yourself to figure out the truth behind why these ideologies support these different ideas. So, as I've mentioned, the left will win any given debate if we allow the debate to be about race itself, because most people won't want to be associated with white supremacy. And most people, even if you take the label of white supremacy away, or any, just basically thinking that we need to do more stuff for white people just because, without looking at the underlying issues, most people are going to see that and they're going to say, no, I don't want to form opinions based on skin color. I don't want to form opinions based on just saying, well, my race is more important to me than yours. Most people just aren't going to be a part of that. So if your strategy is to appeal to the idea of white dominance in itself, you're going to lose. On the other hand, when you look at this from an individual's perspective and you ask yourself, well, what has my race done for me? If you're white, can you look upon the greater white community, as we could call it, which is a joke in itself because there really isn't a greater white community? Can you get support? Do you benefit in any way from the white community? You're not going to, because your racial group doesn't actually matter. You don't have privilege based on whiteness to begin with. This is what people on the left essentially want us to think in the first place. So, you're arguing from essentially a point of view that puts you into a trap and that makes it to where you're stuck trying to just say that my race matters and there are going to be fewer white people, and that in itself is a problem. It's really very difficult at that point to back out of that argument and then say, well, there are these other issues. Well, let's say that you had more Asian communities. If half the people in North America were Asian, the chances are that we'd actually be doing better as a civilization. Assuming that there would be, continued adaptation, assuming that, there wouldn't be some sort of new unexpected conflict among whatever Asian group you're talking about and European people of European descent, Caucasians, we'd actually be doing better because Asians have good values as a whole. That's a broad statement and it's an overgeneralization, but as a whole, you can expect Asian people to work hard. You can expect them to, not want to be part of a victim group. You can expect them to contribute to society in positive ways overall. And, it's not that I'm picking them at random. It's because the evidence is there. They're successful. In many ways, they're more successful than Caucasian people. And they're not given special benefits. Their culture is just superior. It's only when large numbers of residents or people who become residents in your country come from inferior cultures that this becomes an issue. And this is the heart of the real problem. What matters is the prevailing cultural norms. If every community adopted the best of Western values and excelled, it wouldn't matter what percentage of our population was white, whether it's 80% or 50% or 20%. The problem is multi-faced, but it includes things like multiculturalism, illegal immigration, Islam's goals of basically, destroying the Western world, which we're facilitating as well. We're helping them out with a lot of our policies. Feminism and, cultural Marxism as a whole, just wanting to create victim groups, wanting to grow state power based on, saying, oh, I deserve this and I deserve that, and it's the government's job to give it to me because patriarchy, or because of white privilege, or whatever the case may be. These are the real problems that we have in our society. Race is really a facade toward acknowledging the real differences and shortcomings between groups of people. And unless we can have an intelligent conversation about why it is that there are fewer white people, why it is that, the demographics are shifting towards, black and Hispanic people for the most part, why it is that, as far as greater populations go, why is it that um, we have welfare dependency in many communities? Why is it that um, we support, or at least there are people in our society, large groups of people that support illegal immigration? Why is it that we don't want to enforce our own laws when it comes to protecting our borders and, making the determination that the people are here are actually the ones that who are, making the determination that they're actually the people who are supposed to be here? Why is it that Angela Merkel and others in Germany basically want more Muslim people to come in, even when they don't, and it's clear that as a whole they don't integrate with the societies, with the European societies? And there are real reasons for this, and I think it takes some form of red pill knowledge, some form of, awakening and seeing what's going on around you and why different groups of people have an incentive to support other groups of people, such as with feminism. A lot of men basically just want to get a woman's favor so that they can reproduce. That, when it comes to feminism, that's why men support feminism. It's because they're beta males and they want to get laid. Now, there might be some other contributing factors to that, but that's the main reason. So rather than saying, women are bad, and this is a different topic, and I realize that, we have to look at the overall system and realize that it's based on certain people having certain goals. It's not based on race in itself. It's not based on, well, there are fewer white people and that in itself is a crisis. No, that's a crisis because we no longer have Western values and our society is becoming a sinful place where, basically, and I use the word sinful to just talk about, the total downfall of our society. We basically have a place where everything's going to hell. And, you know, just looking at race plays right into the left's hands. Saying that, we need to do more for white people just basically militarizes people against the right. It makes people think, oh, they're just racist. And of course, a lot of this is made up. A lot of this is fabricated by the media. But they are taking real examples of people who are from the alt-right or however they identify, who are white supremacists, who are racists, who are neo-Nazis, whatever term you want to apply. And they're saying, see, this is what the people on the right are arguing for. They're racist, and some of them really are, but that narrative is exactly what the left wants those who are concerned about our way of life to focus on. That's exactly the kind of argument they want us to make, and we would be much better off looking at the underlying issues. Even though I do believe our society is going to collapse within 2 or 3 decades because nobody's doing anything about these issues, we at least need to realize that, being white doesn't do anything for you. Indeed, there is no white privilege. The white community is not going to support you if you're homeless or you're starving. What, you can realize is that there are issues that are causing people to suffer and that is causing our society to be brought down very quickly, quite frankly. But race in itself is not the issue. The issue is culture, feminism, illegal immigration, the idea that everyone is just equal. So I would include egalitarianism in with that. Just thinking everything's fine. We should support everyone's right to do whatever we want. And as a result of that mentality, that's why we're going down the tube as a civilization. That's why we're in big trouble. But, saying that the issue is really about race is really a distraction from looking deeper and from understanding that this is exactly what the left wants to go on. And, they want to do everything but have a rational discussion. They want to just be able to point at people, call them racist, and say that, unless you consider yourself superior because you're white, you need to side with us and basically support the Democratic Party and the liberal ideologies because, you don't want to be a racist like these people in Charlottesville.